AT holds off to win at TPC. DeChambeau versus Lee Westwood for the second week in a row. Is power necessary to be successful on tour? Rory decides to possibly back it down. 1 year ago today, we actually took the golfers off the golf course at the TPC due to the pandemic. How are things since then? A quick recap of Bay Hill and what's next at the Honda. All coming up next on Extra Holes. Scotty?
Hi, Johnny. Well, looking forward to talking about what's been one hell of a Florida swing. I mean, you talk about they came from Ribby in California, which was, always a good test, and then play at the Concession, then play at Bay Hill, which was tougher than hell on Sunday, then go to TPC, and next week got Honda. I mean, it's quite a Florida swing, so I'm looking forward to talking about it. I did want to start the show off. I've got my green on today. I'm half Irish, and tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day. Even poured myself a little Jameson with maybe a skosh, maybe a little pinch of ginger ale, and gonna start celebrating a little bit early. And it reminds me, I don't know if you remember the story, but you told me one hell of a story about the first time you went to Ireland with your college teammate Paul McGinley. You remember that story?
Yeah, this podcast is always about, what we wanted to kind of make it feel is like two guys sitting at the 19th hole having a cocktail and talking golf. And yeah, it's a funny story. I've never been over the water before when it came to playing golf. And Paul, my college teammate, he says, come on over. And I ended up having the honor to actually hang out and live with the family for about 7 weeks and play all these different kind of golf tournaments. But I remember I came in, I wasn't in the house more than 10 minutes and 15 minutes meeting everybody. And then all of a sudden he's like, let's go to the pub and have a drink. So we go down to the local pub called the Yellow House, and I walk in, and there's this array of all these different types of beers. And as he's looking, he's like, what are you going to have? And I said, well, maybe I'll take it international. I said, I'll have a Foster's. And he said, oh, no. You're in Ireland. You're going to have a pint of Guinness. And I said, okay, well, I'll have a pint of Guinness. And so he looked at the bartender, and the bartender says, Paul, what are you going to have? He goes, my friend right here will have a pint of Guinness. And he goes, and for yourself? He goes, a Budweiser. And I'm like, I'm in your country and you're drinking my beer. I don't get this. He goes, oh, that stuff's too thick for me. Oh, but you're making me drink it. And by the way, I fell in love with it. And it's the only place that I actually will drink Guinness is in Ireland because of the way the temperature is of the water and how
it's good.
The water is and how smooth it is. And it's smooth. I think he has graduated because I've seen him drinking pints of Guinness over there. But when I had him in college, he was like, oh, no, that stuff's too thick. I'm going to have a Budweiser. And I'm like, I don't get this.
I'm a fan of a black and tan, but
right.
You can only have that in Southern Ireland. But that's a story for a different day. So anyway, happy St. Patty's Day. Let's get started.
Yes, sorry, I'm not wearing my green, but this is my Paul McGinley flag here. I caddied for him at the PGA. So that's about as far Irish and green as I'm going to get right now. But yeah, so let's get back to a hell of a TPC. I thought if you look at it right, I thought the better guy won. He shoots 64-68 on the weekend to win by one. I had some conversations with some friends who, they kind of came out to me and said, I think Westy's going to choke. And,
I don't think he choked, by the way.
I don't think he choked, right? And I said, there's a guy that chokes and there's the guys that got beat. And I think Westy got beat. And but I thought it was, the guys could not stop talking about how good the golf course was. It was in phenomenal shape.
It was beautiful. It was great.
And I agree with them. They, it's better that this tournament is done in March than when it used to be. But I thought JT just, hit some quality golf shots down the stretch and putted the lights out of it. Even though, Westwood, I thought Westwood just lived his life hitting par putts from 4 or 5 feet all day long just to stay in it. But like you said, after it was done on Sunday, you're very happy that he birdied 18 to get himself second.
It's like the old phrase, dogs that Dogs that chase cars and pros that putt for pars. Those are two things that don't last very long. And
Right.
unfortunately, it ran out on 17, and he had a damn good putt there. I mean, for God's sakes, I mean, you can't make everything, but it was a fun tournament to watch from start to finish. I don't know where it ranks for you, but for me, as far as yearly, what I really look forward to, like I think everyone dies to watch the back nine of the Masters and watches all the Masters that they can. I think the Open, the British Open, if you will, or the Open, is fun to watch. Get up early in the morning, and when it's punishing people, it's really fun to watch. U.S. Open, I'm not a U.S. Open and PGA. I'm interested, but for me, the TPC, watching the 16, 17, 18 comes only second to probably Augusta. I really, really like watching that.
Well, I mean, and put yourself in a player's standpoint, right? Let's just put yourself in the mind. Now, again, all the elite players, it's all about majors. I need to win majors, right? Masters, US Open, PGA, blah, blah, blah. But financially, when it looks at checks being written, this is a very, very healthy tournament for them. And look what happened to Lee Westwood for coming in second. I mean, these guys are making unreal. And it goes back to your boy, Kevin Kisner. They pay a lot for 20th place. I mean, it's
okay.
nuts.
Okay. Let's talk about 20th place. So just to quote here, just not even quoting, I'm just stating fact. JT won $2.7 million for his 4 days work. That great putt that you had mentioned earlier that Lee made on 18 won him about an extra $500,000. So he came in at 1.6 million for the week, which is going to get Helen some jewelry, I'm sure. And then all the top 20, if you finish in the top 20, so like 17, 18, 19, 20, those guys all got 221,000. So almost $250,000 for 20th place. Kiz was right. 20th place pays pretty good. He trunk slammed it this week, but if he'd have got 20th, he had a cool $250,000. So those guys, and again, thanks to Tiger, we haven't even mentioned him yet, but a lot of that's thanks to Tiger.
Right. And that's why they call it the fifth major, because financially it's a 10-year deal, right? And the payout is quite nice.
I think they changed it to 5-year, by the way, too.
Oh, is it? Is it back down to 5? Okay.
It used to be 10, though. You're right.
So another thing that is one of the things that's being talked about a little bit is, first of all, DeChambeau, right? He's coming off a nice win at Bay Hill, where, he did some extraordinary things driving at 375 yards. And, how is he going to be able to attack this golf course, at Sawgrass? And, I think he was in the position to make a big move. And what's crazy about the golf course is, if you're not in the right position to go after some of the flags, it's hard to get it close. And I just thought that, he just didn't drive the ball well coming down the stretch, although the drive on 16 was stupid.
Right.
Or, he's got 195 yards into that thing. Yes, he did kind of squirt it through the trees. He got lucky. But
that's a good example. 16 is a good example, and we'll let you stay on DeChambeau. But so when you talk about the bombers and the finessers, a guy that, that's why JT won, because you said earlier he was the best player in the field. But he had a shot that he hit, I believe, on the front nine this week and then on 16. And it was just that little slinger hook, that little stinger where he flighted it down and just bent it around the corner. I mean, that was a thing of beauty. Now, it contrasts what you're talking about. DeChambeau just bombed it. He might have got lucky, it got through the trees. But, I mean, there's two different styles. DeChambeau did make an eagle there, but arguably, and JT even said this in his post presser, he said that they asked, what was your best hole today? What was your best hole? What was your best shot? He said, well, I'd have to say my best shot was actually the way I played 16.
Right.
Because he hit that great hook. He hit that 5-wood that took a nutsack to, loft up in the air and played it towards that left side, and a 2-putt birdie. Probably won him the tournament. I mean, he got 17, 18 to play.
I think you're absolutely right. I think it did, right? And if you look back, I think it was on 14 or 15, DeChambeau hit it into some fairway grass bunkers, and he drew, and the lies were terrible. And he's got enough power to get it out, but then he short-sized himself on the chip shot. So he didn't put himself in the position to kind of attack at some pins. But, again, another week he's in the hunt to try to win it. And I'll tell you this much, I think this guy is to be reckoned with. But then you look at it after, we're going to give the Trunk Slammer award to, but, Rory in a way that coming into that really didn't have the best mental
No, he didn't.
Coming out of Bay Hill, he just didn't have a lot of good mental thoughts, and it showed. Going with 79, 70, I don't know, what was it, 77, 79 in the first
It
round.
was a pile. It was worthy of a
and then
trench
he comes
spider,
back
for
and
sure.
says, hey, look at after the US Open, after I watched DeChambeau play that, I went out and got some more speed. And now what's happened is his body's a little out of whack. His timing's off. He's not hitting a consistent tee shot and iron shots. And now he's talking about backing it down. And that's what I love about this golf tournament, right? You have guys like Brian Harmon in the mix. You have guys like Fitzpatrick in the mix. These guys aren't bombers. And that's what I love about this.
Corey
this
Connors, once again, Corey Connors had a nice showing.
Right. They bring it. The golf course brings everything in because it's how you position yourself off the tee to go after these pins. And even Rahm said it a couple times. He's like, I missed the ball 1 foot left of this, of where I was, and I'm 60 feet right down this swale. So I love that. I love actually that Rory's trying to think about backing it down and going back to his old self a little bit and noticing that, to be honest with you, Scott, the guy hits it far enough. He doesn't have
well,
to,
that's what's been talked about. I agree with you. One of the things that's refreshing about Rory is he doesn't like keep it in his camp and not talk about it. He stands up in front of the podium and he's honest. And he said, you know what? Basically, if you can't beat him, join him. And you're exactly right. He admitted that he was trying to chase down that extra speed and length that DeChambeau had because he figured, hey, if it's working for him, it's going to work for me. And golf, there's no two swings or no two approaches that work exactly for the same guy. And I look forward to watching him back it down. I hope he's not playing this week at Honda, and I'm sure he will play the match play in Austin. But hopefully he is, and those guys are gearing themselves for Augusta in April, because with all the young guns playing the way they're playing and DeChambeau, I mean, this is going to be one of the better Masters shaping up. Not that we're talking about the Masters yet. We can go back to TPC, but this golf season's really shaping up. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and I actually think that Rory, if he does, in the next 2 or 3 weeks, back it down and get to where he was, I think he will be a contender because you don't have to mash it at Augusta. You just got to be able to manage it at Augusta. So,
yeah.
One
more thing about Rory.
It was quite interesting, like you said, that he just came out and just kind of threw up over everything and said, yeah, this is what I was doing. I went after the US Open, started gathering more speed, and I think it's come back to haunt me. And, so I don't know.
One of the more refreshing things about Rory in the last couple of weeks at Bay Hill, he was playing a practice round with JT, and they caught it on tape, and he ended up going on Found talking about it. But he was talking about how he and his wife, their go-to when they travel, he obviously travels all over the world, is if they can't find the local best pizza joint, they always have Domino's. And they caught it on tape, and he and JT it was just funnier than hell because JT was like, yeah, I really like the double sausage, and they were going back and forth. So I can promise you this, at Purdue University, as a 4 times a week double cheese pizza order from Domino's, he's going to have a lifetime supply of Domino's, guaranteed.
Domino's should be calling his agent right now and saying, let's put something together.
Oh,
well, another thing that came out of this golf tournament was 1 year ago. 1 year ago, obviously last week was when the PGA Tour decided after one round to pull their golfers off the golf course and, more or less start the whole pandemic. What was great to see it is 1 year later, you had fans out on the golf course rooting them on. And I think it's slowly but surely they're going to keep testing more and more fans as the season goes on. But I thought it was very refreshing that they were allowing in that Florida swing, to allow fans to come out on the golf course and watch. So I have a feeling that's going to continue. It was great to have even some roars and stuff that you heard, maybe Eagles on 16, but some of the debacles that happened on 17. So it was good to see that 1 year later, we're trying to get back to normal, but yeah, it's an anniversary for sure.
Yeah, that's a good point, Johnny. I've never met Jay Monahan, the commissioner. Have you met Jay?
No.
They showed a couple of things how he handled it and how their team went about the process of handling it. And he just seems like a first-class guy. Everything you hear the players, even David Duval in one of his pregame Golf Centrals or whatever, said that he was proud to be a member of the PGA Tour with a guy, like Monahan running it. And he just looks like a classy guy, and it's nice to see that. So yeah, I mean, the tournament was great a year ago. You know, it's could be argued that golf got a lot of people through the pandemic over the last year. I know I played more rounds in the last 12 months than in one 12-month span. I played more golf than I've ever played in a 12-month span of my life. I don't know about you.
No, well, I mean, golf out here is absolutely going nuts, and I actually think that golf, because of the pandemic, I wouldn't say a lot of country club golf or maybe resort golf, but the public golf facilities, along
Yep.
with the standalone driving ranges, have actually succeeded like no other. Their numbers are through the roof. I mean, I play here at a local golf course, and I have 8 days in advance. I have to get on the computer at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I have roughly 2 seconds to make a decision to get a tee time. That's how nuts it is. And then driving ranges alone at public facilities, there's people waiting. I don't care if it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday. Like this, it's crowded. So
Tell me, go ahead. No,
I'm
you know
just
what?
saying
Take a
that-
breath. Take a breath.
Okay. All right.
Tell me the difference out there in SoCal. Like how many rounds like Mission Viejo Country Club would do in a year versus the San Clemente Muni?
Well, I can't tell you numbers, but I'm going to tell you both golf courses are packed, right? The country clubs are packed. Where
Right.
the country clubs are hurting is there's no in-house dining.
Right.
There's no outside play. Your Monday golf tournaments, there's nothing happening. No
Right.
weddings, right? So, and they're just getting back to having guest fees. So the country club in a whole, the golf was popular, but you can only make so much out of a golf cart, right? So, they have their dues, and that's all fine and dandy. But where a country club really steps it up is by these outside identities that they have to make money. Now on the
Right.
resort side, yes, the golf course is probably crowded, but the resort's less than 10% occupied. So if you look at it as it on a whole of a full business plan, they're struggling. So public golf course is doing really, really well.
I play at a little private club here. It's a diamond in the rough called Bent Creek Golf Club. And I joined a little over a year ago after spending 25 years at Minneapolis Golf Club, another great facility, just a fantastic place, a lot of great people. This Bent Creek, man, we got a great pro. We've got a guy that runs the greens, the superintendent, who's a good golfer and just knows what the hell he's doing. He's awesome. The whole place is run great. But as a point of reference, we're talking about here in Minnesota, where we play 6 or 7 months, I think a typical year would be 22 or 3,000 rounds there. And I think we did closer to 28 to 30,000 rounds in a 6 or 7 month period. So Minnesota has more golf courses and golfers per capita than about any other state. So we're dying for it. We just got a snowstorm yesterday. So anyway, I think the whole point was a year ago, the world changed, golf changed. They didn't play the TPC. The PGA Tour did it right. They got them back out in a couple months pretty quick to playing. And from what you said earlier, you're right. I heard a couple guys say how cool it was to hear the fans roar again. Yeah. And when JT made that eagle on 11 on Sunday, the roars went up, and the other guys, a couple groups behind were going, okay, what happened? What happened?
Yeah, and what's great about it is, you probably, being the golf fan that you are, you could probably go out and watch whoever you want by yourself, because a lot of the fans that are actually on the property are probably going to go towards those leader groups to watch that coming in. So if you want to go watch somebody that is just because you're a fan of their game and they're not in the hunt, you're probably walking with them, by themselves, because everybody's going. And that's what's great about it is you did hear those roars, because a majority of the fans that are there on the property, other than people sitting at 17, right? Because that stadium atmosphere is following those leader groups, right? So it's just great to hear, So,
and again, I love watching the tournament. One of the other storylines that we sniffed upon, and just another quick mention that's worthy of it, is, at age 47, Lee Westwood, the Renaissance man, who never seems to, play bad, easily one of the best ball strikers on tour. And it was fun the last 2 weeks, because how unusual is it that he and DeChambeau are paired in the final pairing at Bay Hill and then again at TPC. And his fiance, Helen, was on the bag. And I think you know a little more information about her than I do, but it was cool because it looks like Westy is just, it looks like he's found happiness on the golf course and accepts imperfection. And even though he shot 73, hell, he came on and he goes, I had 2 misses going. He goes, I knew I wasn't going to play good. He goes, my legs felt heavy. He goes, I'm 47. He goes, I think I got out of that round when I could get out of it, you know?
Yeah. I don't know too much about the story, but, divorced, met her. She's a personal trainer. She got him into the gym and started getting him fit. And what's great about it is they've built this relationship up, and he's now engaged to be married to her. And she loves to carry the bag. And what I love about it is, she just carries the bag. That's it. She just carries the bag. She does rake. I saw him rake his own.
By the way, it's a tour bag too. It's not like a little carry bag.
And I saw him rake one bunker himself, but he does his own numbers. And we talked about this off air, and it was one of those things where you're saying, you know what, the guy's probably hitting the most confident golf shots that he's ever hit, because he's doing the numbers himself, and he's believing that he's got the right club, where sometimes caddies will say they'll talk him into another club. They'll talk him into a 6 when he's trying to hit a 5 or whatever. Now, I don't know if he's noticed that, but what's happened is there's a smile on his face from start to finish, know, and I just think it's fabulous that this guy he's almost out there going, hey, I'm going to wake up tomorrow next to this beautiful woman who's carrying my bag, and we're just going to go hit it and find it and hit it again.
And I was going to say, in the last 2 weeks, watching him, especially on Sundays, how many times did he make, even the par, he'd make a 4-foot for par. He'd look up and he'd look over at Helen and he'd start laughing. He was like, it was like a kid in a candy store. I mean, it was just like, how refreshing. It was so refreshing, especially him with DeChambeau, because DeChambeau has got 85, hamsters running around his head trying to figure out the slope, the wind, what degree does he have to play here? I mean, and Westy is just having fun, man.
Yeah.
So that's good for golf. It's good for the PGA Tour. It's good to have difference. It's back, like, you might be a little young to remember, but it's back like in the day when pro tennis had Borg and McEnroe and Vilas and Jimmy Connors. I mean, it was great because you had different personalities. And so I'm happy for the PGA Tour. And speaking of Westwood, I can't believe he's playing again this week at Honda.
Yeah, I'm surprised too. I thought he would take a little break, but that's the other thing is now Captain Harrington's got to have him on the radar, because now, this is the guy that was probably, if this was last year and no pandemic, was an assistant captain, because for sure he's a future captain. Now he's played his way into possibly, I think he's on the team, or he's got to be close to being in that top 12, to where, heck, he's just bumped somebody out. And, now you almost have a player coach, because they have said nothing but phenomenal things about Westy in that locker room.
Yeah,
when it comes to being another leader,
You couldn't be more right. I mean, you and I haven't disagreed much this. Maybe before we get done, we'll disagree about something. But you have to believe, as a player and or captain, or both, or vice captain this time, with his calming influence in that locker room, he's an easygoing guy with Helen, because part of the deal is, and people don't talk about it, part of the deal is the either the significant other or the spouses that they bring to this deal. That's all comes into the mix, because it's a one big family deal. So they really try to put themselves in a cocoon of a huge family. And it'll be interesting, and I haven't heard this, but it's interesting to see how many fans they allow at Whistling Straits this fall. But it should be shaping up to be a great. I don't know how we got Ryder Cup, but I think you're right. I think he has a good chance.
Westy's worked his way into that lineup right now. In my mind, if he's not, he's a captain's pick. But here's the question for you: the amount of pressure that is at the Ryder Cup. Do you feel it's right for him to put her in that position? Or do you go get Billy, who he's caddied for him before, who's on Fitzpatrick bag, who used to caddy for Seve in the back? Do you go get an old looper that you've had success for, and you say, honey, this is another level. It's very intense. It's very insane. I'm wondering why don't you hang out with the wives? Or does you say, hey, if it's not broke, why fix it?
That is a great question. And my gut thought is that you go to the tour caddy you say, sweetie, I want you, because she'd be able to be inside the ropes or next.
Right.
I want you with me all day. I want you with me the whole 18. But I think we gotta, I think we gotta get it over to the professional for that. I just, and that's no knock on her, but you need somebody more than a bag toter and something like that.
And to be honest with you, I don't think she'd want it.
I don't either.
I think she'd be shitting her pants.
She'd be shitting diamonds, man. She'd be knocking out lumps of coal.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I don't know if I'd want it, to be honest with you, because she's going to feel how intense it is just by sitting inside the ropes, walking with the wives. I mean, It's not, we've been there at Hazeltine. You saw what it's like. It's heavy, man. And
oh my God, Johnny, and thank you again. And thank New Era.
Back in the day. Yeah.
Back in the day. I'll never forget a couple things about that deal. One is what a tremendous host and gentleman you were. The second thing is I'll never forget behind the first screen, the throngs. When I say throngs, they were 40 people deep. And the hair was standing up on my neck when McIlroy, I forget who was playing the singles, but they came walking off one, going over 2T. And I was like, I can't imagine even putting the peg in the ground. And keep in mind, and I'm not saying this, it just came to mind, but I played in the United States Amateur at Hazeltine.
Right.
And the first hole I played in that tournament, my first hole was number 10T. And I'm telling you, I felt like I was operating a jackhammer. I was trying to get that tee in the ground. Like, I was so freaking nervous. And that's a USAM. Okay. No big deal. USAM. All right. Whatever. The Ryder Cup. I can't. And usually what ends up happening is these guys raise their level. They end up, Reed McIlroy. That was Reed McIlroy. That's who they played because, yeah, right. So it's amazing these guys can perform at that high a level. And I hope that Westwood does make the team. And speaking of Westwood and transition into Honda, let's talk. Are you done with TPC?
Actually, I am. And because of it's Westwood we were talking about, I'm going to go into a different, I'm going to add to the Trunk Slammer Award here. Okay.
Oh, I know you're going to do.
Okay. I'm going to do a Trunk Slammer Award. And I'm not going to give it to one person. I'm going to give it to a group of Euros after the first round.
Oh, yeah.
And that is Westy's friends with Rory, with Tyrell, with Poulter, and Stinson. After one round, they were 29 over par. Trunk Slammer Award.
Slammer. And we have to make a special mention to Ben On.
Oh, yeah. By the way, he was one over par going into that hole.
Yeah. So Ben, they asked him what he had. He said, well, wait a minute. He goes, let me take my shoes off because I need my big toe to get to 11. He made an 11.
Right, exactly.
Poor guy.
It's Moosehead +1.
Oh, God, that is funny. Well, all right. So that is a good story. I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
So Honda, I've played down there many times. And PGA National.
So you played the Bears. You played that place.
Yeah. I actually lived down there when I was a club pro, assistant pro at Piper's Landing up in Stuart, Florida. I lived a winter with some buddies of mine from Indiana that were playing the Club Pro Series, and we lived at PGA National.
Okay.
So I know that area very well. It's just tough. I mean, it's I was listening to Trip Eisenhower today say, he goes, man, you can't fake it around there. No. He goes, you have to hit your golf ball. And so when we do our picks, which by the way, you won the first two, I won the next three, and now you've won the last three. So you're up 6-3, man. Good God.
Huh? Man. Gas pedal is down.
Hey, you might want to move the camera over and just show the audience your dartboard, because I'm sure you just go like this and that's how you pick them.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
All right. So by the way, we got to do our picks tomorrow. So we'll talk in the afternoon. Honda Classic, super weak field. Good opportunity to maybe talk about where did Matthew Wolff go? Where did Matthew Wolff go? I mean, he withdrew from Torrey, then he played 18 holes and shot a pile at the concession, and then said, see ya.
Yeah, I mean, that was the crazy thing about it is he actually he withdraws from Torrey with a hand issue.
Yeah.
Okay. So then he goes on and he plays a little bit, and then when he gets to concessions, he shoots 83. And let me go with this: 4 birdies, 4 bogeys, 6 pars, 2 doubles, 1 triple, 1 quad, and he struck a golf ball hitting a putting stroke, but it was by accident, so he didn't get nailed a penalty. And after that, he says, "See you later," and gets paid $32,000 because there's no cut. Now, we talked about this in the past, Bush League. I mean, we'll talk about it. We talked about it. I'm not going to beat it in, a dead horse here. But there is nothing being said about this guy, and he's in the top 50 in the world, and nothing's being said, and he isn't even on Instagram. He's not saying anything. Nobody's saying anything. Now, again, we're speculating here. You and I talked about this. Was this a hand slap saying you can't play in the Players, which is a very, very high-end, financial golf tournament, and we're not going to let you do this? Do you have to take, are you getting a timeout and sitting in the corner in the dunce chair, or are you seriously going on being, I'm physically hurt, I'm mentally not good, something's going on, something's really weird here.
I got three scenarios.
He's not in the Honda, right? He's not in the Honda. Yeah.
I got three scenarios.
Okay.
Number one is what you said. He might be getting a little, you're 21, you're young, but don't do this again. Might be a couple weeks suspension. The PGA keeps that under the cover pretty good. It could be an injury. And I hope for his sake, it's just a hand injury that he's getting over. That's what I hope it is, because he's one of the young guns and he's a stud and he's got a great career ahead of him. The third thing it could be, which I hope not, is I just hope it's not some type of drug or alcohol dependence or some issue like that. I mean, the kid was on the front of Golf magazine a couple months ago, or maybe 2 issues ago. And he's had a lot of fame and fortune shoot up pretty fast, probably a lot of money. He's living in that Jupiter area, which I'm shocked that he's not playing at the Honda, because it's, it's just down Highway 1 and down MacArthur Boulevard, where it's just a hop, skip, and a jump, 15 minutes maybe from where he lives to play there. So it'd be unusual he's not playing there. So I hope for some reason that it's just a blip, and, he comes back. He's part of that young guns with Morikawa and Hovland. And it's funny to say that JT and Spieth and Schauffele, aren't the young guns anymore, which, by the way, we never even talked about Spieth, but again, in the hunt again.
Yeah, no, it's good for golf. It's good for golf too. I hope he continues to be consistent like this, because he is, I think it's good. I think we need to get Ricky going, right? If we can get Ricky going, that's, again, good for golf.
Ricky's playing this week.
Guys like you said, Hovland, Wolf, like these guys, continuing to play well is going to be good for golf. And then what's great about it, and you get these storylines, and then you get a guy like Westy that comes in at 47 years old and battles these young guns. So well, getting back to the golf course, because it, right? That's the Honda. It's just water on every hole pretty much, right? And then that stretch down the road, that stretch coming in, I think is it 17? That is just
bear trap
and gnarly par 3.
No, it's like 15, 16, 17.
Yeah. And that
trap. Yeah, it's just a tough ass golf course. That's all it is.
Because the wind is just doing this, right?
Inside it's typically second or third hardest golf course on tour all year. I mean, you talk about Innisbrook or Muirfield or Quail Hollow. The number one, the toughest course every year is usually wherever they play the U.S. Open, like Winged Foot.
Right, true. Yeah.
But PGA National is definitely in the top 3. So, and for my money, it's not my favorite tournament to watch, because they're if somebody gets double digits under par, they win. So everyone's trying not to hit in the water and whatever. So
and they're calling for some weather this weekend. They're calling.
I did hear that.
Some colder weather and some wind, obviously. So
that might factor into our picks tomorrow, young man.
There you go. Hit her low and let her go.
Well, are we done with golf pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know too much. I haven't read. I know that you found some things on Tiger. The only thing that I've heard is that it's pretty close. He's pretty close from transferring back to Florida to be with his family. That's kind of all that I know. I have a feeling that I don't think we're going to see him getting off an airplane. I think this is going to be fly at night, do all this thing in the dark, and stay away from a camera. But I hope that it's progressing in the right direction. and hopefully he's, healing well. But you say you might have a couple things on it?
Yeah, there was a story this week. Basically, some forensic dude came out and said that there's no way that he wasn't impaired. He had to, because there weren't any skid marks, that his car was going at a high rate and went into that ditch or whatever. But I'm not even going to jump on that anymore. There's nothing that's come out. The report basically said he got a favorable police report, and they didn't do any DREs as drug test, or they didn't do anything that would basically try and imply that he was impaired. So nobody was hurt. He was hurt bad, but nobody else was hurt. It was early in the morning. You had mentioned in our conversation this week that he is an early morning guy. I mean, So he's the first guy at a major or somewhere where there's a practice round. Shit, he's there, dark 30, hitting balls, and he's playing 9 holes at 6:30 in the morning, right? So,
yeah, he's always been a morning guy. So unless he has just absolutely powered himself to sleep with so many pain pills the night before that he's still got a little buzz in the morning. But
I hope not, and I want to just think better of that, and I just, I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I'm going to say no too. I'm going to wait till it all comes out and he wants to tell a truth story, and I'll believe whatever he says, type of deal. So I'm glad that he's still a father of 2 and a son of a mother, and that's all that I'm going to say to it. And I hope I think it's great that, that the golf community is still, wishing him nothing but the best, and same with the tour players too, because JT's got a little emotional about it, right? He's become like a little brother to the guy. So
I'm on board with you.
You lose your grandfather, and then you almost lose one of your best, your mentor, So kind of crazy. So
well, to put a bow on this thing, I'd like to give a shout out to a really worthy cause and I'm going to screen share something here.
Yeah, this is a future sponsor of ours, actually, Peacock Promotions.
Yeah,
I'll let Scotty talk about it.
So we're lucky enough. We're a promotional products company, and we're lucky enough this weekend. There's on Sunday at 7:00 Central Time. There is a Just Keep Living Texas Relief Fund fundraiser. It's a virtual fundraiser hosted by Camilla and Matthew McConaughey. And as you can see from the screen, Don Henley, George Strait, Kelly Clarkson, Miranda Lambert, Post Malone, Willie Nelson. And I know Dak Prescott and Troy Aikman and some other guys are going to be on this deal. But again, it's another example of Matthew McConaughey giving back to his state of Texas, giving back to his fellow Americans, and they're going to try and raise money. It was basically, there's many Texans that got devastated in Winter Storm Uri, and we're just happy and honored to be part of this. We are doing the T-shirts and the hats for this event, and we're just so happy to do it. So anyway, it's this Sunday, March the 21st, and I wish everyone a happy St. Patty's Day. It's been a great another podcast with you, Johnny. So I will, neither one of us have the face for the video, but you certainly have the voice for it. So I'll let you do the sign off, brother.
Well, always a great time, Scotty, talking golf with you. And I don't know when we'll be back. We're going to just kind of look at it and see. Obviously, we'll probably be back for the Masters, but maybe we'll do something with the
match play,
with the match play, because there might be some more storylines. But we appreciate everybody viewing in and enjoying our podcast. We're having a blast doing it. So for Scott Ainsworth and myself, John Adams, I'll see you in the fairway.